Yeah, so much energy for the last talk of the whole week. I want you guys to quickly do a round of applause for yourselves. Woo! Amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I know the pool party went hard and contra bar went even harder. So, way to go. Anyway, enough dilly dally. I'm Julia. I'm here on behalf of Safety Wing to talk about YouTube creator and brand collaborations. I know today has been all about content, marketing, and I'm hoping to give a little bit of a different perspective from like the brand side. So what we're not going to be talking about is how to grow, how to monetize, tactics, strategies. I'm sure you've heard from a lot of experts on that so far. So we're going to focus a bit more on if you want to get noticed by brands, if you want to get them in your inbox, if you want to monetize in that specific way, I hope this is going to be helpful for you. So I'm Julia. As I was wonderfully introduced, I'm the YouTube outreach manager for Safety Wing. So what that means is that my job is literally to trawl YouTube, to find up and coming travel creators, to find established travel creators, and to get them on board with us, to collaborate with us, and get them into our ambassador program. So I'm looking at all this stuff all day, every day, and I'm going to share with you a bit of what I look for when it comes to deciding how to proceed with YouTube collaborations. I also have been a content creator on the other side, although not on YouTube. I was on TikTok, and the YouTube TikTok war is a big like special interest of mine, but we won't go into that today. So if you are a content creator, I feel you. I've been on the other side also. Actually, a show of hands, who here is a content creator? Keep your hand up if it's YouTube that you do. Oh, lots of hands went down. Interesting. And okay, hands down. And if you are a marketer who collaborates with influencers, with creators, all right, cool, a decent number. Sweet. Wonderful. So there's something here for everyone. We're going to talk about why creators choose YouTube over other platforms like Instagram, TikTok, why brands look for YouTubers, and then we're going to dissect the anatomy of a successful collaboration. Um, so yeah, let's get right into it. Why creators choose YouTube? There's so many platforms out there. You know, it's really instant gratification to sort of start on a shorter form platform, you might think. But there's a few reasons why creators choose YouTube based on conversations I've had with them over the last few weeks, months, and in no particular order. I've got them on the screen here. We'll go through them one by one briefly. But the essence of all of it is that on YouTube, you create a much deeper connection with your audience because you're able to share more of yourself. And there's a few reasons for this, which we will get into. So in no particular order, first things first, from a technical perspective for the creator, YouTube is easier to repurpose into short form content, or rather, I should say, long form video content is repurposable into TikTok, Reels, Shorts, LinkedIn posts, blog posts. You strip it, you make podcasts, Gary Vee style. I'm sure you guys all know. You cannot do the opposite. You cannot make a bunch of TikToks and wing them together into a YouTube video. You could, but I don't think you would do very well. YouTube also has better monetization. This is probably one of the most famous reasons why people choose YouTube. So when I was doing research for this talk, I found that TikTok tends to pay about 2 to 4 cents per thousand views to their creators, and YouTube tends to pay between $3 to $5 per thousand views. Obviously, these numbers vary. These are very general averages. But you can already see one is pennies, one is dollars. So we like the dollars. Um, on YouTube, you build a tighter community because you can show more of yourself, because your audience sits down expecting a 20-minute video. They don't have that temptation of if they're bored in 2 seconds, they'll just scroll past you. They're in for the long haul. They made some popcorn, they made a cup of tea, they're ready for you. So you can show more of yourself, they get to know you a bit better, they feel more connected to you, and you make a tighter knit community, which leads into the next point really nicely, which is higher viewer retention. And this is really interesting because it means that YouTube is also winning at the same time. YouTube wants you as a creator to keep your viewers engaged for as long as possible and to keep them on the platform as long as possible, like every other platform. So if you can do that, great. One thing that a lot of people miss out on is that actually 26% of Google searches lead to video results. So your YouTube videos are ranking in the Google search engine as well as on YouTube itself. This is something that TikTok and Instagram doesn't really do so much. So as a creator, you have extra exposure through another avenue when you make YouTube videos. And I kind of touched on this already, but as a creator, you can dive deeper into topics, you can explore nuance, you can show different sides of your personality, you can get a bit more vulnerable maybe, and you can sort of explore the complexities, you can have engaging conversations, and it's just a different sort of ambiance than the way that you would explore those things on a short form platform where attention hacking is key. So those are some reasons why creators would choose YouTube as their primary platform. Now let's talk about why brands would choose YouTube. So me, when I'm doing my work for Safety Wing, why am I looking for YouTubers rather than TikTokers, Instagrammers, like the more maybe traditional idea of an influencer? There's a few reasons. It's the #2 search engine in the world behind Google. And like we said, a quarter of Google searches bring up video results anyway, so it's kind of like 1.75 in the world rather than second. One of the biggest reasons, though, is that it is evergreen. It's evergreen content with a long shelf life. You post a reel, 30 minutes later, you've pretty much got 80% of the notifications you're going to get on that reel, generally speaking. With YouTube, I've had several conversations with different creators where they say to me that they post a video, it doesn't necessarily get so much traction, but a year later, it just pops off, and then it just keeps going. So you can see a return on your creative input months or years after you post on YouTube. That's not so much the case for other platforms. There was a survey done last year of consumers and sort of social media and influencer marketing generally. And the consumers themselves said that YouTube is the best platform, in their opinion, for authentic and beneficial content. So people see YouTube as high value, where they might see short form as a little more frivolous. And so what this means is that for a brand, you get the opportunity to position yourself as an authority, as an expert, and to get in front of people who are maybe a little bit more like serious consumers. And because of all of the sort of deeper dive you can do as a creator on your YouTube platform, you build deeper trust with your audience. And that's leading me on to my next point, which is that this is the platform that converts your fans into mega fans. So if you have a following on Instagram, if you have a following on TikTok or Twitter or even LinkedIn, whatever it is, YouTube is the place where you're really gonna get them, okay? And that's coming from YouTube themselves. A colleague of mine went to a conference recently, a few months back, where there was a member of leadership of YouTube there, and this came directly from their talk. So, fact checked. And finally, on the brand side, so you have the deeper dive with your audience, you build trust with them, and building that trust means that you have higher conversion rate on products, which means more money for the brands. So, of course, that's something that we're interested in because, let's be real, this is business. So you want to make sure that you're getting ROI on the collaborations you're doing with creators, and YouTube is the place where you get 34% higher conversions on products promoted by creators. So we've talked about why creators choose YouTube. We've talked about why brands are interested in YouTube from a marketing perspective. So if you're a creator or an aspiring creator and you want to make a YouTube channel, or you have one and maybe you don't have as many brands in your inbox as you'd like, how can you impress a brand? It really comes down to this. Your audience needs to like you and trust you. And there's 4 main pillars that I look for when I'm sort of doing my YouTube outreach that indicate to me that your audience likes you and trusts you. Because you have to understand, from a brand's perspective, from my perspective, I have a budget for a month, right? And I have thousands of creators I could collaborate with. I'm basically betting on you. I'm betting on you, and I say, if I give you this little chunk of money, I'm betting that I will get however much back in return. So I want to make safe bets, obviously. Basically a professional gambler, if you think about it. So the 4 main pillars that show me that your audience likes and trusts you and makes it more likely that I'll reach out to you. The first one is high-quality content. This is non-negotiable. And what I mean when I say high-quality content is it needs to be good lighting, clear audio, a crisp image, and some kind of consistent style. That doesn't mean you need to always be regurgitating the same thing. It just means that you've created some kind of expectation with your audience, because we're all creatures of habit, right? We want to be able to predict things. It makes us comfortable. And so a lot of YouTubers will be sort of like the comfort creator for their viewer. And consistency in style is key for that. High-quality content is also more likely to engage and retain viewers. And from the brand side, we want our brand to be associated with high-quality things. We don't want our logo on a low-quality video. So that's the first key pillar to consider. The second one is consistency. And I'm sure you've heard this a million times this morning, so forgive me, but it's true, and repetition makes things stick. So from my perspective, when I see that your channel has a video coming up in a frequent or in a regular cadence, it makes me trust you more. It makes me see you as someone who is taking the channel seriously, as somebody who wants to succeed in this, who wants to build this as a business, who is present, who is responsive, and that means when I reach out, I'm more likely to get a response. Or when we negotiate, you've done this maybe a couple times before, or if not, you're ready for it because your intention is to make this work as a business. So I see you as a more reliable partner, and I'm more likely to reach out to you. If you're consistent, you're also more likely to have an engaged community. And Also, my last point, because YouTube said so. At the same conference that I mentioned before, they mentioned that the key to growing on YouTube is consistency. Now, I don't want you to confuse consistency with frequency. This doesn't mean you need a video up every other day. That's insanity, unless you have a team. But you could easily post, once a month maybe to start. But as long as you keep the cadence of once a month, that would be considered consistent. The third point is community. Sometimes if I'm unsure about a creator or if I can't get so much detail from their content, their channel, I will look at the comment section of their videos. I will see what are people saying. Are people talking between each other? Are people referencing maybe something that happens to be an inside joke from a previous video? Is there this sense of community, this sense of like in crowd with your audience? That means you've got them. That means they trust you. That means if you talk about our brand, they'll buy from you. So we want you to have an engaged community. This kind of goes hand in hand with consistency because when you're consistent, you will naturally earn your community over time. What we don't really want is somebody, maybe they have 50,000 subscribers, but half of them came from a few viral videos, and they're not really here for you. They're not really here for your personality. They're here because you were the hot trend and they jumped on it, and tomorrow they're on a different trend. So that's what we really want to see. And the number one way to build a community is being authentic and relatable, right? So you have to do that. You have to be yourself. This is key. And we'll get to this later when we talk about the anatomy of a successful collaboration with the brand a bit more. So the last point, and this one is a little bit controversial, you need to have a clear niche. It shows me why your audience is following you. I'm going to be so blunt right now. I don't really care about you as a creator. I care about the audience. I'm seeing through you at your audience to see why are they following you? What are they interested in? What are you giving them that they need? Right? So we're going to do a little example of this together. Imagine you have two creators. They have the same number of followers. They post consistently. They have high-quality content. Everything's good. One of them posts content about a day in their life, or they vlog their 3-day camping trip with their friends, or they do their nighttime routine, or they take you along to a new restaurant in town with them. And this kind of content is all over. Maybe they get good views, good engagement, ticking every box on this list that we've talked about, right? Now imagine you have another creator, same follower count, same quality, everything, but they talk about how to pack for a trip, how to get cheap flights, mistakes that they made on the road. Who am I more likely to sponsor as a brand if I'm looking to collaborate? Put your hands up if you think it's number one. Put your hands up if you think it's number two. Yeah, you guys are right. This is why a clear niche is so important. Because with the first creator, I have no idea why their audience follows them. Probably for their personality, and that's great, and that is totally valid. And you can definitely monetize that way. You can definitely make sort of like really good income off YouTube passively from that. You could promote your own digital products, you could promote services, and you could monetize that way, for sure. And there's no hate in that game, that is dope. But here we're talking specifically about brand partnerships, right? And if I'm looking at your channel and I can't tell why your people follow you, it's not a safe bet for me to give you that little precious chunk of my budget. But the second creator, who is very travel-focused, very like honed in on what their people need, I will sponsor them because I'm more likely to get a bang for my buck, so to say. And also, when you do this, you are establishing yourself as an authority. You're establishing yourself as the expert in that certain type of travel, right? Or whatever your niche is. It can be anything. It can be skincare. It can be whatever. And when you establish yourself as an authority, again, you build trust with your audience. And when your audience trusts you, they're more likely to convert on whatever you promote to them. So, getting into the last part of my talk, stay with me, y'all. We're almost there. Lunch is like around the corner, okay? So, the anatomy of a killer collaboration. Let's put everything we learned together. I'm going to give you some tips based on things I've seen from collaborations I've done, from creators I've spoken to. So, first things first. On YouTube, it's so common, getting less and less, thankfully, but it's so common to sort of watch a video, and then you see a cut in the middle, and it says, now is the time to tell you about the sponsor of today's video. Safety Wing is an insurance that does this and this and this and this. Who watches those? Thank you. It's like when you're listening to a podcast. What do you do when the sponsor comes on? You go, you mash that 15-second button, right, to skip it, to get back to why you were listening to this in the first place. So the solution for the creator is, don't think of it like a commercial. Think of it like product placement in a movie, right? When there's, imagine a scene, okay, set the scene, right? Hot summer day, sweaty man from outside who was doing something manual comes in, is all like, oh, I'm so tired. Oh. sits down, grabs something from the fridge, pulls it out. It's a Coca-Cola. He takes a sip, and he just goes, ah, you want a Coca-Cola now, right? Like, he doesn't need to stand there and talk about how Coca-Cola is really refreshing and it's perfect for a sunny day and it's going to make you so happy and relaxing. And no, you don't need to do that. Show, don't tell your audience, right? That ties in with the next point, which is authentic storytelling. So I'm not here to sell you safety wing or anything like that, but it's what I know, so we're going to go with this example. An example of how you could integrate something like this in a storytelling way. Imagine you are in Bangkok, right? And you're eating seafood? Not seafood, street food. You could, film yourself at a market and everything, and then kind of like sit down and then be like, it's a great time to tell you about the sponsor. Or what you could do is, as you're walking around, you could talk about how last time I was in Bangkok or last time I was trying street food, I got sick, I had a stomach issue, I had to go to the hospital to test for dehydration or whatever it is. And I'm so lucky that I had Safety Wing. I've been using them for a few years. They're really great, and the reason I love them is because this. You can check it out in my description. Isn't that a much more seamless operation? Yes, you are still promoting something. Yes, you're still going to share the value of Safety Wing, but it's done in a way where you take the listener on a journey with you instead of just cutting and then cutting back. Now back to the video. Like, are you guys with me? All right, awesome. Another thing we always tell creators is to swap the word sponsor for a similar reason. We're not doing this to get around any kind of ASA guidelines. Obviously, we want to be compliant. You need to disclose paid partnerships in videos. But the word sponsor itself, I feel like, is the word that makes people's eyes just glaze over. They're like, oh, another one of these. Oh, no. YouTube already has enough ads anyway. So we just recommend you swap for something like, we partnered with this brand, or we collaborated with this brand, or this brand supported us in this video. Something that's a little bit softer if you really need to like explicitly disclose it, right? And then the most important thing of all is be yourself. Because if you are not yourself, your audience won't listen to you. That is the reason they follow you, is because they like your personality, because you are relatable, because you are imperfect the same way that they see themselves imperfect. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean that perfection is boring and unrealistic and not relatable. So be yourself. This is the most important. Now, a quick rapid fire list of tips from the pros. This is from creators I've spoken to in the last 2-3 weeks, and tips that they have shared with me of how they are able to keep the stamina to keep going, making content on YouTube for so long while traveling and not sort of getting in their head about it or burning out about it, right? Key number one is you have to love what you do. You have to love the process of making content, right? Specifically YouTube content, specifically long-form content. You have to love storytelling, right? It doesn't mean you have to love every single element of it, right? Like, I'm a creator, I hate editing. I hate it. I'd pay someone to do it if I could. So you have to love the process of seeing something through to a finished product, right? Tip number 2, equally huge, is find the balance. I was speaking to a few creators, and I was surprised that in the same day, I spoke to 3 different creators who all told me the same thing. They said, traveling while filming and editing and scheduling and posting and interacting with my community and also having a full-time or part-time job on top of it, in the beginning before you're fully making your money from YouTube, it's a lot. Who would have thought? The logistics of a new country, the language barrier, all the navigation you have to do, and also try to have a good time and not let your FOMO get you, and it's a lot. So burnout is really common. And you have to find a balance between enjoying your time in the place, doing any paid work you need to do, and growing your YouTube, right? So one way around this, and this isn't necessarily for everyone, but one way I've heard that has worked for some creators is that they have a base where they spend most of their time. They go out and do trips here and there and film a bunch of content, don't edit it, come back and edit it from their home base and post in batches and then go out and travel again. Obviously, just a tip, it's not going to apply for everyone. Some people love the whole like traveling on the road. I personally would get so burnt out, but teach their own. Embrace your imperfections. I've touched on this. Imperfections are relatable. It's why people connect with you. It's how you get your story out and make someone else feel better about their journey, right? So embrace your imperfections. Commit to the partnership. This is a very big one. You don't know how many times I get emails from people saying, can you send me a script? Can you please send me a script? Can you please send me a script? Listen, I know where it comes from. I get where it comes from. Like I said, I've been a creator also. This is by no means hating on anyone. I did the same thing. But now I'm on the other side. And I think the extra value is understanding that you are the expert in the creative process of your content and in your audience and knowing what they like and what they want to hear about, right? But the brand is the expert in the service or product that you are collaborating to make content on. So I'm not going to give you a script, because if it's scripted, your audience can tell, and they won't like it. We trust you to do your thing. And instead, I will give you a brief, I'll give you maybe some points that you should talk about. But I've had it in the past where people will use the brief as a script, and then that's just a lose-lose for everyone. Your audience doesn't want to hear it, you lose retention, and we don't make an ROI on our collaboration. So I would advise against that. Authenticity is king, don't need to say much about that. And the last point, also advice directly from YouTube, is if you have a YouTube channel or you're considering making a YouTube channel, consider having a podcast in parallel, because latest data from YouTube, from the horse's mouth, says that they are going to push channels that also have podcasts. They're preferring that in the algorithm. Speaking of our friendly algorithm, who here has a love-hate relationship with any kind of algorithm? I think more hands should go up, but okay, I'll take it. So the YouTube is a little bit different than the short-form platforms, right? They don't really pay attention to the videos. They care about your viewers for the reason I mentioned, because it's a win-win-win operation. If your viewers stay on your page, you win as a creator, and YouTube also wins, right? So instead of making content for an algorithm, make it for your viewers. Make it human-centric. I mean, we're storytellers here. That's what this is about, you know? If you start making sort of like algorithm-focused stuff, people can sniff that from a mile away. So make sure you keep your viewers top of mind, and the brands can see that. The brands can see that that's what you're doing, and it'll be much more tempting to work with you if that's the case. So super quick, I'm not going to plug this much, but if you've seen us at our booth, woo, thank you. You know that we have an ambassador program. This is like the foundational stone of how any collaboration with either bloggers or YouTubers happens. We have over 1,000 affiliates in our program, and basically when you become a Safety Wing ambassador, you get a unique affiliate link that gets you kickback on any sales that come through it for yourself. And you also get access to an incredible community hub, access to all the other creators in our network, which we have some big names. You probably recognize some of these faces on screen. We have a whole community team that's really invested in helping our creators grow. There's no minimum requirement of subscribers to join, so go for it if that's what you're into. We host monthly webinars and virtual events to help you grow in every capacity: how to build a community, how to do authentic storytelling, how to SEO optimize your blog, how to edit your videos better, whatever you can imagine. We have new stuff coming up every month. We also have bonuses, incentives, campaigns, giveaways, etc., that you can participate in as a creator if you need a little bit of inspiration. And we also do a lot of social stuff within the community. We have meetups, networking events, etc. So it's a nice place to be if you are a traveling creator or an aspiring travel creator. If you want to sign up, you can scan the QR code on screen. And thank you so much for listening.